Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. I don't normally do orchid videos on a Monday, but I'm filming this on Monday. I won't be posting it, I'll probably post it Tuesday, so it will go in store for another time. But we haven't had rain for a bit now, so the water in the trays for the Disas is getting a little bit stale. It was refreshed rainwater while we were having the heavier rains, but the rains have gone now and we've got a week now with no rain at all. So I want to get some fresh water in here, some fresh RO water with some feed, because again the rain will just have been flooding out any feed that was in the water. And quite honestly, although they will be slowing up soon, they are still growing. We've still got enough day length out there. So I mean, the first thing I do is I just sort of drain them off, because obviously the water in the bottom of the pot is the stale water. So I just drain as much of that out as I can, and then I just transfer them across into clean trays. I swap them over basically so that I can clean this tray and fill this one with water, which I don't do in here. I carry the tray out to where it lives empty. And we're getting to the time of year now where it's getting cold. Consequently, they don't need to stand in such depth of water. They need to stay damp through the winter when it's cold. They don't really need to be soaking wet as such. Not in this country anyway. Snail, we'll get rid of that. They don't seem to be affected by snails. There's no lumps out of the leaves or anything. But you know, these were failing a while ago, and they are coming on now. Everywhere where there's a Disa growing with a central growing area, in other words not a rotted out core, should grow on. I mean, this is a classic example here. Yeah, we've got two nice plants there growing on, and there's a couple of smaller ones that may push on as time goes on. May get the really tiny ones, bearing in mind I'm not going to disturb these at least until spring, so they're not getting potted on, they're not getting touched, they're just going to get left to do their own thing. And so some of these tiny plants might not be very big by spring. And I might end up just leaving the pots and let them have a whole season. And those little ones will grow on undisturbed. The bigger ones should flower. You know, I mean, ones like this and this, these two, they should bloom. And as I said, these were failing plants not that long ago, so they've picked up quite well. I mean, this one's actually got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 7 plants in here, maybe 8. And some of them are tiny, but they're not dying anymore like they were. So we get that out of the way. I'm just going to dump that water in there for now, and then that'll go out into the kitchen to be washed. So that's that one. And then this little one here was because there were only 2 pots left. Now there's a Sarracenia in here because I've had to do a recovery on them. They're in a tray like this. Well, it only comes halfway at the pots, and a lot of the pots are small, but the plants are big, and every time there's the slightest breeze they keep blowing over. So what I've done is I've stood all the Sarracenia pots in square pots. The square pots touch each other. They support each other, they're touching the edge of the tray, and these pots are standing inside, so they're far less likely to blow over. But I had one too many. So I thought, well, there's water in the Disa trays, we'll stand it in there for now. So that's why that's in there. And then these two need to just come out. I'm going to need, let me get that wet one. was going to say I still need somewhere to put these, don't I? I don't want them dripping all over my table, so we'll put them in this dirty one for now. But these are coming on nicely as well. You know, I mean, that's a good strong plant. This plant over here will die because that's the one that was in flower when I bought it. But we've got quite a few good plants in this pot. Quite a few. And then this one is a bigger pot. This was a larger sized blooming plant that I bought, which, as I said, will die. In fact, that feels loose enough to just pull out. There we go. So now all we've got is plants to grow on. And again, there are quite a few. They're looking good. It's a broken leaf. But yeah, there's some nice plants, you know. I mean, that's going to bloom, and I would just think that one is as well. And the others will grow on. If they don't bloom next year, they will the year after. So that's a quick look at the Disas as they are now. Now, obviously these are in a clean tray. That can just go back outside now, and I'll top it up with the water and with some feed in once I've mixed some up. This one will need a wash to be reused. But very little algae this time round because obviously the water was clean. Now that's a bit of the problem, is that with the warmer temperatures, if I've got feed in the water, even though it's a very, very low level, the algae forms. So the water needs changing a bit frequently, a bit more frequently. But these haven't had any food for some time now because we've had that rainy period where the trays have overflowed and been topped up with rain. So all the feed would have been washed out of them down through the pots and overflow from the trays. So I want to get a bit of feed in there while they're still growing. This is the only pot that looks a bit iffy at the moment because this plant is lost, and that only leaves that tiny one and that tiny one. But nonetheless, they may grow on. As I said, the whole flipping lot were failing at one point. It's not that bad now, but yeah, so they're doing better. They're not going to, the failure of quite a lot of my Disas is not going to stop me getting any more because the knowledge builds up. And if I get to the stage where I know I can look after them, and you know, instead of having like an 80% loss, I might only get a 30% loss, I'd be prepared to put up with that, as long as it's not whole potfuls. Anyway, I shall get some feed knocked up. I just wanted to show you how they are now and what I get up to with them. And the other thing is that before I go to bed tonight, they're coming back inside because there is the threat of the first frost of the autumn tonight. We might not get it on the south coast, but our South Coast News, which is a little more detailed as far as the weather is concerned than the national news, actually mentioned there's a possibility of frost in rural areas. Obviously in the towns and cities it's less likely because of all the buildings and everything. So I will be bringing them in tonight for the first time, and then tomorrow morning when I get up, if there is a frost, fair enough. If there isn't, then once the sun gets up and that, you know, early dawn coldness disappears, then they can go back outside again. Re-watch the forecast, because we're in for a cold spell for the whole week. So they may have to come in every night this week until the weather changes again. It will. The high pressure will move off, head off over to Sweden and Finland and all over that way. And it will probably be followed by low pressures coming in. That will raise the temperature and we get some rain again. But probably at least a week before that's going to happen. So anyway, that's just a quick look at a bit of progress and the sort of things I'm getting up to with the Disas now. They don't go dormant in the winter, even though they're terrestrials. They keep their leaves, but they do slow right down. They don't do a lot of growing in the winter, and a lot of that is the shorter days. But they don't stop altogether, so they still need to be permanently damp. They mustn't dry out. But we might get to the stage where I won't actually stand them in water. I may just keep my eye on, you know, the pots and water them as and when necessary. Especially if I've got to keep carrying them in and out because of the threat of frost. I mean, it may get to the point where the daytime temperatures are low enough that it's not worth putting them back outside. They can just stay in here. I mean, a lot of people keep them in, you know, in greenhouses permanently, and they don't put them outside at all. But anyway, that's what's going on. So I'll end this one now and see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.